Lake Michigan, the prize of the city of Chicago. Chicago's proximity to the lake is a reason for its existence and its continued prosperity. Serving as the freshwater gateway to the Atlantic, the home to a billion-dollar fishing industry, and the primary reason for Chicago's abundant tourism, Lake Michigan's economic significance cannot be overstated. The lake is Chicago's lifeline. Chicago's economy and natural beauty depend on it. But all of that is under attack. Meet the invader, Chicago's very own Visigoth, the Asian carp. Asian carp are known as an invasive species, which is a species not native to a region that can fundamentally alter the balance of ecosystems and cause irreparable damage to the environment. Introduced into Arkansas lakes in the 1970s to hinder the expansion of local algae populations, the fish escaped, eventually becoming a dominant presence in the Mississippi River basin. As of now, Asian carp are on the cusp of invading Great Lakes and destroying their ecosystems. But how do they do it?
Massive vines that blanket the southern United States, climbing as high as 100 feet as they uproot trees and swallow buildings. A ravenous snake that is capable of devouring an alligator. Rabbit populations that eat themselves into starvation. These aren't horror movie concepts, they're real stories. But how could such situations exist in nature? All three are examples of invasive species. Organisms harmful not because of what they are, but where they happen to be. Most of the world's ecosystems are the result of millennia of coevolution by organisms, adapting to their environment and each other until a stable balance is reached. Healthy ecosystems maintain this balance via limiting factors, environmental conditions that restrict the size or range of a species. These include things like natural geography and climate, food availability, and the presence or absence of predators. For example, plant growth depends on levels of sunlight and soil nutrients. The amount of edible plants affects the population of herbivores, which in turn impacts the carnivores that feed on them. And a healthy predator population keeps the herbivores from becoming too numerous and devouring all the plants. But even minor changes in one factor can upset this balance, and the sudden introduction of non-native organisms can be a pretty major change. A species that has evolved in a separate habitat will be susceptible to different limiting factors, different predators, different energy sources, and different climates. If the new habitat's limiting factors fail to restrict the species' growth, it will continue to multiply, outcompeting native organisms for resources and disrupting the entire ecosystem.
Asian carp interrupt the entire ecosystem by eating around 40% of their body weight in plankton per day. In doing so, they decimate the food supply of other native fish. Additionally, carp tend to muddy the water, limiting sunlight for plants and destroying plant populations. Because of all this, the entire Lake Michigan food web is at risk of undergoing dramatic changes, which can cause a collapse of the $4.5 billion Great Lakes commercial fishing industry. Mussels, salmon, snails, and other native fish, all at risk because of the Asian carp.
Question. Are you aware of the Asian Carp Crisis?
No.
Do you know what Asian carp is?
Yeah, they're fish.
Are you aware of the Asian Carp Crisis?
No.
Do you know what Asian carp? No.
It's a fish.
So, are you aware of the Asian Carp Crisis?
Yes.
They're eating all of the food that belongs to the native fish that are from our lakes.
I actually have heard about this. I remember now.
What have you heard about it?
Like, there's no predator of the Asian carp, so like, there's nothing killing them off. So really, they're just like killing everything off, but nothing keeping them in check.
The Asian carp doesn't have a mustache, no.
Okay.
The Great Lakes are facing one of the biggest threats of our generation, Asian carp. Having successfully invaded the Mississippi River basin, they're eating their way north and already dominate the waterways of southern and central Illinois. This is the most important line of defense. Electric barriers in Romeoville, Illinois, only 35 miles from Chicago. The electric barriers repel Asian carp with an electric charge, keeping them from swimming closer to Lake Michigan. But But some worry that electric barriers aren't enough and are demanding alternative solutions to keep Asian carp out. But what's the fuss over a fish? Why are Asian carp such a threat? And why should you even care?
Asian carp are an invasive fish, but they're actually a type of minnow. The only thing is, they're like a gigantic minnow. Asian carp can get up to 100 pounds and they can be over 4 feet long. That's like the size of a 12-year-old. And they can also eat up to a fifth of their body weight on any given day. But it's not necessarily how much they eat, it's specifically what they're eating. Asian carp eat plankton, which is the foundation of the Great Lakes food web. So by eating large amounts of plankton, they're actually taking away food from native fishes. If you take away the foundation, you can be causing the entire food web to collapse.
The stakes are high. The multi-billion-dollar commercial and recreational fishing industries could be hit the hardest. One species of Asian carp can even jump, risking injury to those who enjoy spending time on the water. This isn't the first time the Great Lakes have faced a major threat. From alewives and sea lamprey to zebra and quagga mussels, aquatic invaders have already damaged our Great Lakes ecosystem. We'll never rid the Great Lakes of these established invasive species or erase their impact. But we still have time to keep Asian carp from making the Great Lakes their home. If we act now.
Asian carp also pose a direct threat to human lives. They can jump when startled by boat engines. Capable of jumping at least 10 feet out of the water, these evil flying fish have injured boaters and caused fatalities in the past. If Asian carp populations continue to grow and overtake Lake Michigan, we can expect increased beach and marina closures, which are critical to the Great Lakes boating industry, where roughly 4 million of all boats are registered. Asian carp must be stopped. Chicago depends on it, but where do we even begin in solving this pressing issue? Researchers have studied preventative measures in keeping Asian carp from entering Lake Michigan. In one study from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, scientists concluded that Asian carp avoid waters with high concentration of carbon dioxide, thereby calling for using carbon dioxide in infusion systems that would treat areas of water with high levels of carbon dioxide. But while effective, the method would have adverse effects on all native species in addition to the carp. Acoustic barriers would be a nifty sidestep to this problem. Knowing that Asian carp have enhanced sensitivity to high-frequency sounds, scientists have proposed setting up speakers underwater that transmit these sounds, thereby driving carp populations away. From installing electric barriers and dumping poisonous pills into the lake to actually fishing the carp out of the lake and eating them, various solutions have been proposed, all with resulting drawbacks that can potentially cause harm. Some of these possible methods will undergo field tests in 2017 to demonstrate effectiveness.
Like, what do you think can be done to solve this issue?
Well, maybe you should provide like an incentive for fishermen to so that way instead of just going after other fishes, they have more incentive to fish for Asian carp, and that way the Asian carp population would be reduced.
I mean, maybe introducing a new predator, that could be something, because I know that they are at the top of the food chain in the river today.
What do you think can be done in order to raise awareness?
Maybe have more media coverage over it so that way more people are aware of it, because I wasn't even that aware of it.
Well, do you have any other solutions that can possibly solve the problem?
That's hard.
Well, I mean, I think that getting involved in the Illinois River Association, and I think Lake Michigan also has a volunteer group that concerns themselves with conserving Lake Michigan's waters, like looking up volunteer opportunities and going out in rural Illinois.
So what can we do as average citizens that love the lake and wish to protect it? We can elect politicians to city council and Congress who care about investing money into ecological resources, politicians that care about supporting the environment and keeping our lakes clean. We can get active and generate awareness and educate other students about this issue. Or we could join Eco Club, volunteer for an organization that is directly involved in confronting the Asian carp crisis, and if we care enough about it, we can be the change. It's clear that the future of Chicago and the lakefront depends on how we grapple with the Asian carp crisis. Lake Michigan is home to 6 million residents in Lake and Cook counties. The lake provides drinking water for 7 million Illinois residents. The lake fosters a tourism industry that brings 20 million people to the lake shoreline each year. The lake houses a commercial fishing and boating industry that generates millions of dollars for the city and supports nearly 33,000 jobs. The lake is Chicago's economic link to the world markets. The lake is what defines Chicago. Let's save it.